Hi everyone, my name is Beth and I decided to make this video because I really would like to help others, and I think this is a good time to share my story because of what's going on in the world right now with the coronavirus situation, and how it's the situation has made it extremely hard for a lot of individuals, families, businesses. Um, it's just hard for everyone right now. And I believe that my story can help other people. And ever since I was in high school, I've always wanted to help others. That's actually been because I wanted to help others that actually steered me into going and getting a psychology degree. Um, and yeah, so one thing I learned when studying psychology, I took two counseling courses. And one thing we learned in counseling is that the counselor should only share personal experience if it's going to benefit the client. So if you share similar experience that's going to help them think through or get through whatever they're going through or help shed light on something, then it's relevant to share from your own life experience. So with that being said, I would like to share some of my life experiences that maybe can help anybody out there who is struggling right now with financial difficulties, not having enough food, all that stuff. Um, First off, I want to say I am not a licensed counselor. I am not a licensed therapist. I am not a psychologist. Um, so, with that being said, no, I'm not trying to give advice on a professional level. I'm just trying to simply share a story, and hope that it can help other people. So, again, my name is Beth, and I'm currently living in Germany. And when I first moved over here, I came over on a work contract that was supposed to last 1 year. It ended after 6 months due to some circumstances. Um, I was lucky enough to have met a wonderful man who would turn out to be my husband. Um, he offered to let me stay with him because I was about to have no place to live. I had pretty much zero money, um, and he offered to let me stay with him, so that was very lucky. But as we actually continued our lives together, um, we both ended up in a situation where we didn't have a place to live as well. And between the two of us, we also didn't have a lot of money. Um, I had just gotten a job again, and he was studying to be a nurse. So he was only making us so much money per month. Um, Anyways, we had to quickly leave where we were staying, and we had to go live in a hotel. And we had to stay there for 11 days. Almost every single cent that we had went towards living in that hotel. Um, we all of our belongings were in that hotel room. It was a very small hotel room. It was full to the brim with stuff. You could barely navigate to get to the bed. Um, and we didn't have enough money to buy food, so we only had the food that we brought with us. So, which was like one loaf of bread, I think it was. We had maybe 2 cans of tuna, a jar of peanut butter that wasn't full, and a bag of pretzels. I think that's all that we had. Oh, and we had the toaster so we could plug in the toaster and toast the bread. Um, it was really hard. It's very easy in difficult times when you don't have money and you don't have enough money to buy food. It's very easy to allow your mindset and your soul to kind of enter into a depression time. It's very, very easy to do that. I did. Um, but things did end up getting better. We eventually found a apartment after those 11 days of being in the um, hospital. I don't know why hospital's in my head. Hotel, they will start with H, that's why. After 11 days of being in the hotel, we did find an apartment. But here's another thing about living in Germany is that most houses and apartments do not come with a kitchen. They come with a room for a kitchen, but they don't have a kitchen in them. So you have to buy your own kitchen, which, I mean, everything. That's not just, that's a refrigerator, that's countertops, that's a sink, that's a counter, that's cabinet space, everything. It's literally just a blank room with some knobs coming out of the wall for your hookups whenever you buy your kitchen set. So we obviously didn't have enough money for a kitchen. So we didn't have a kitchen. We also didn't have any like silverware or plates or cups or anything. So slowly we started to accumulate some plates and some silverware and a few cups here and there. And we made it though. The point of this story is that we made it through. We eventually were able to find a used refrigerator online, so we were actually able to store food. We didn't have to just buy like those 99-cent ramen noodles. But hey, if that's all you can afford and that's all you have space for, do it. It's food. Yes, it's not the most nutritional food out there that you should be eating, but it's going to sustain you during a hard time, and it's okay. So we were able to buy a used refrigerator for I think 40 euros online. A coworker of mine at the time helped us pick it up because it would not have fit in our tiny car. So things slowly started to look up there. We eventually were able to find a like camping table for 10 euros that we were able to set up and store dishes on, things like that. But there again, there was no sink to wash dishes in, no dishwasher. So we had to wash the dishes in the bathroom sink and then let them dry on the windowsill in the bathroom, and then of course dry them off and then take them back into the kitchen, which really isn't that bad. But growing up in America and growing up with everything I ever needed or wanted, that of course was like a huge flip. It was very, very hard, very hungry a lot of the times because we simply didn't have enough money to buy food. Very, very hard few years. But we finally got to a good point. We never got a kitchen though. And this is before we got married. At one point we did end up moving out and into separate apartments. So we were no longer living together. And then I don't know, I had found a new job, very, very luckily, after losing my other job. And I was there for 2 years before I woke up one day and I just said, I have to quit. And this wasn't just like a sudden spur of the moment, I have to quit. It was months of losing sleep over things that had happened at this place of work, wrestling with moral decisions, how I was being treated as a coworker. The whole atmosphere was negative all the time. There was no order to the day. It was chaotic. I couldn't function. I couldn't sleep. So I finally woke up after another a sleepless night. I woke up and I said, I have to quit. So I quit. I didn't know any of the rules at the time in Germany, but luckily for me, I had been working for 2 years at that point. And because had been working for 2 years, I was able to get what's called Arbeitslosengeld here. It's like unemployment money, which was not a lot. It was literally enough to cover my monthly rent. And I had moved into a one-bedroom apartment or one-room apartment, which was 510 euros. And luckily that did have a kitchen. It was like a little kitchenette area. So it's like all one big room with like a little tiny kitchen area with a little mini fridge and sink and oven. And I was so thankful for that. I remember the moment I saw it, I didn't care how big the room was. It had a kitchen, then I'm taking it. But anyways, the money I got was literally barely enough to cover my rent, and I had just a tiny bit over to pay some of my other bills. So rent and like my phone bill, my Wi-Fi bill, that all that money went straight to that because I got around like, let's say 580 euros. I don't believe I ever got over 600 euros a month. So it was around 580, possibly 600 euros a month. So I didn't have enough money again to buy food. Luckily, I had some friends, had made some friends from my old work, um, who offered to allow me to come babysit for them and clean house. And sometimes I would get between 25 and 50 euros, depending on what was needed. Babysitting or babysitting plus cleaning house, how many hours, etc. And each week that I would do that, I would go home with about 25 to 50 euros, and that's the money I used to buy food with. And here's when I really learned how to budget, to learn what was important. What do I need to survive on, and what do I not need? Well, I don't need cookies, I don't need chips, I don't need juice. I didn't drink soda before, so that was obviously a no-brainer. I don't drink beer, interesting enough, because I live in Germany, which is, like beer capital of the world. But I really learned, like, because for me, chips and cookies was like a huge thing, and coffee. I used to go out when I had money, and I would buy coffees, 2 to 3 a day. It was really bad when I lived in the States because there's a Dunkin' Donuts and a Starbucks on every corner, so that was really bad. Here, you have to actually get into the city to go buy a coffee. But anyways, I'm getting off track here. My point is, again, I was in a circumstance where I hardly had enough money to buy food. And, people could start to tell, because I got pretty thin. I mean, I've always been thin, but I started to, I think it got worse. Like, you could kind of tell, because I had a couple of friends who would comment, like, oh girl, you need to start eating. And in my head, I'm thinking, I would love to. I don't have enough money to buy food. But if you're right now going through this coronavirus time, you're not able to work, your work has been shut down, and you're not getting enough money from the government or whatever, don't be mad at the government. Don't be mad at the situation. There's grace in accepting your circumstances. That, okay, right now I only have this much income, this much has to go to bills, and this much is left over for food. What can I buy with that food? Well, rice is going to be your staple, and pasta, noodles. Those are going to be your staples because those cost between like 99 cents to 2 euros, $2, depending on what brand you're buying and how much you're buying. But those are going to be your staples. You can get a lot of rice for not much money, which is great. Sauce also is pretty cheap. And even if you're not getting like a meat in every day, and even if you're not getting the most nutritious foods in every day right now because you're unable to buy them, it's okay. You can go without cookies, you can go without Coke, you can go without coffee. What you need to survive is something in your belly and water. So most every place in America has clean water if that's where you're living. Most European houses as well have clean water. If you have to buy a bottled water, what I would suggest is buying a water filter if you're able to. I was able to get a small canister for my old apartment because the water there was not clean. And it was, I think, 13 euros. Or no, 25 euros for the bottle and then 13 euros for the filter. But my point again is, like, you can get through this. You just have to look at life a bit differently. Don't get angry at the government because you're not getting the amount of money you think you should receive. Just look at the facts. Be thankful if you don't have corona. Be thankful you don't have the virus. Be thankful that you're still alive, that you're breathing, that you have your family, your loved ones, that you are able to receive government aid if you're able to receive it. Some companies are able to give money as well, a little bit. Be thankful for that. Don't allow your mindset to turn negative, to turn to anger or depression. It's really hard, but seek to stay positive. You can get through it. I've survived. I've been now here for 5 years, and almost every month I was here was very hard with hardly any money. I've also been affected by coronavirus. My company had to shut down. Um, so I'm only getting a little bit of income at this time, but it's okay because I know I'm going to get through it. I know that things will be better one day. I know that I'm going to come out the other side. The sun will be shining. The day will go on. My husband will be here by my side. My family in America, we will still be able to be in contact. And you will be okay. You will get through this. The sun is going to shine. You can learn to budget your money to buy enough to survive. If you find yourself in that circumstance where you just think, I have like $20, 20 euros, what do I do with that for 2 weeks? You eat a lot of rice and beans, and you buy pasta and have noodles for 2 weeks. That's what you do. And it's not glamorous, it's not fun, but it is surviving. And I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of the population that is just surviving on a day-to-day basis. Cut expenses where you can, like things like Netflix, you don't need it. Things like Disney Plus, you don't need it. Things like Amazon Prime, you don't need it. So maybe you cancel those 3 for the next 3 months. Yeah, it's just like $7 here, $4 there, whatever it is, $12 there, euros. But that adds up to enough to go shopping again. So things like that you need to learn to cut out when you don't need them, and it's not the end of the world. Then when this is all over and you're getting a better income, more money, then you add them back into your life. It's not, but they're not necessary. So you will get through this. You can learn to budget your money. You're not alone in struggling to survive. A lot of people don't talk about their personal finances and hardships and struggles. It's, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Most people aren't open about it. And that's why I thought maybe this is the time to share how I struggled for a very, very long time with hardly having enough money to eat, not having a place to stay. And I came through the other side. And yes, I was lucky to have a partner in my life who was there and supported me as well as much as he could. But during those, there was a time when we were separated, and it was right after I quit my job, and I had 8 months of unemployment. I never in my life dreamed that it would take me 8 months to find another job. Never, ever, ever. If I'd been living in the United States, maybe it would have been faster because it's my culture, it's my language, and I have a degree, right? Here, yeah, I have a degree, but my German, while it's okay, it's not 100% perfect. I have a degree, but it's not a degree I got in Germany, which are factors. So during those 8 months, I was going 8 months with hardly having enough to eat, which obviously, like I said, became visible, but I got through it. I stayed positive. I was thankful that I had those side gigs of babysitting and cleaning so I could have just enough money to buy a bit of food. Now, right now, I know you're like, oh, I can't go babysit and I can't go clean because we're all in quarantine, Beth. I know. But take what you do have, get rid of the expenses you don't need, and you'll be fine and you'll get through it. I promise. Everything will be okay. So that's it. That's part of my story. I hope I was able to help somebody out there who feels like nobody knows what it's like to just try to survive. Well, I do. It's hard. You're going to have nights where you cry because you don't realize where your life's going right now because you feel like you're stuck. You can't go anywhere. You have no options. But trust me, things will get better. You just have to stay positive. That's a huge key. And then be smart with what you do have. So stay positive, help each other, and encourage each other. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.